Well, happy Monday. It is Monday, the 16th of September, which would make this journal 171, and it would make it T plus 167, which is always exciting. You know, I've been preparing this morning for a podcast interview tomorrow uh, with a friend and colleague on Misfire, on what to do when things aren't running on all cylinders, and how the book came to be, where it started, what the idea was behind it, what I was trying to accomplish, what I am trying to accomplish with it, and preparing questions and answers, and where the interview might go in order for me to be prepared. Nobody wants to get caught flat-footed in a situation like that, especially in a very public kind of a way where you know that podcast is going to go out to a lot of people in the industry, a lot of whom you know. So it becomes necessary to do the work. And that's interesting because that's a chapter in the book. It's a chapter in Misfire. The fact that in order to be successful at anything, you have to do the work. I have to believe that throughout my illness, from the time I was diagnosed, actually, until today, and activities and actions and a mindset that will continue moving forward into the future was to do the work. Okay, what do I mean by that? It's relatively straightforward, actually. It's that recognizing that you're diagnosed with a chronic, debilitating, untreatable terminal illness, which is what I was confronted with when I was diagnosed. And recognizing that the only hope that you have is in clinical trials that are taking place, and that admission to these trials is determined generally by committee based upon where you are in your illness. It became apparent to me that I'd have to remain as physically fit as I possibly could for as long as I possibly could in order to qualify. Not unreasonable, right? I mean, it kind of makes sense in a convoluted way, but that's the way I felt about it. And consequently, I started going to the gym and working out on a much more regular basis. And especially when it came to aerobic exercises, like spin or restorative exercises like yoga. That's all part of what I considered to be doing the work. When I was an inpatient, when I was admitted, and I went through the initial conditioning chemo to prepare me for the stem cell bone marrow transplant, and I was confronted with the mantra of eat, walk, drink. I recognized that if I wanted to get out of the hospital in a reasonable period of time, and if I wanted to continue with my recovery, I would have to do the work. I would have to eat, walk, and drink. And believe me, there were plenty of times when I did not feel like doing any of that. I mean, I didn't feel like getting out of bed. I didn't feel like walking laps around the hospital wing. Because I didn't want to be reminded of the debilitated state I was in, the weakened state that I was in. But if you want the outcome that you're hoping for, you've got to do more than hope for it. So you do the work. When I was writing Misfire, when I was writing the book, the same kinds of rules applied. In order for me to make Misfire the best possible product that I could in order for me to ensure that it did what I wanted it to do, which was um, help the greatest number of small business owners, particularly automotive repair shop owners like I was, but um, contractors, hairdressers, beauty salons, barber shops, dry cleaners, liquor, and whatever. I wanted the book to have a coherent flow of really meaningful information. But in order to do that, you've got to do the work. You've got to go ahead and buckle down and sit down and figure out what you want to include, what you don't want to include, which is probably more important. Otherwise, you'd have, a 26 volume set of encyclopedia. Uh, but you have to do the work, and the work isn't easy. If it was easy, everybody'd be doing it. The only alternative, and certainly an easier alternative, although unacceptable, would be to just quit. Say, no, I don't want to do that. It's too hard. Never been smart enough to do that. So I didn't do that. Before I read Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers and was confronted with his theory of 10,000 hours of doing the work to get good at anything that you would like to master, I still understood that you had to make a commitment to excellence if you were going to go ahead and accomplish anything of consequence. And that required commitment. It required a bunch of C words and a bunch of D words. You've heard me talk about those before. C words like character, commitment, courage. D words like discipline, determination, dedication. All of those things enter into a successful outcome, however you define whatever success might be for you and whatever project you're working on at that time. Very few of us are lucky enough to buy the winning lottery ticket, right? I mean, very few of us are likely to just show up and have someone hand us a big, bright, beautiful future. There's an awful lot that goes into making all of those things come into play. There's an awful lot that goes into lubricating all of those gears as they turn to make something happen. I think a lot of us do that innately. A lot of us do that without even thinking about it. I've never been that lucky. I've always said yes and then tried to figure out how I was going to make whatever it was I just agreed to happen. Usually, things that were incredibly difficult. And required a tremendous amount of sacrifice and commitment and time. But I always buckled down and got it done somehow. I think that that's an important character trait. I think that if you look at successful people, they understand that nothing comes easy, nothing of consequence, nothing of value comes without work, without sacrifice, without a commitment in time, energy, effort. All of those things. So I think it's critical for anyone who wants anything of value in their lives to recognize that they have to make an investment, and that investment is going to be significant in order for it to be worthwhile, in order to bring a return on that investment that's worth something. I thought I'd go ahead and talk to you about that today because I'm in the middle of doing exactly that. I'm in the middle of doing the work to get things done. It would be a lot easier to do something else. It would be a lot more fun to do something else. It would be a lot more pleasant to do something else, but that's not the case. And the case is you make a commitment, you follow through on what it takes to make that commitment a success. So hopefully all that work will turn out to be worthwhile. for tomorrow's interview. Certainly, it's paid dividends when it comes to my recovery. It certainly paid dividends with completing Misfire and getting the book out there. So if you've got a project that you're working on, if there's something that you have on your to-do list, if you've got something in your bucket list, something on your wish list, remember, you got to do the work. And if you do the work, you just might wind up getting to enjoy whatever it is while you turn your dreams into reality. Till tomorrow, stay well, take care. I'll be talking to you about how well the interview went. So take it easy. I look forward to seeing you then.